Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Overnight Action Report here at MarketStream.live. My name is Joseph Cusick with the Cusick Group, securities offered by MoneyBlock. Let's take a look at what's going on with the markets, both overnight and in Europe, as well as the pre-markets here in the United States. Now, we know that basically everyone last night, up until about 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, was waiting for the outcome of the Italian referendum vote. And it came back no. So the pollsters got 1 out of 3 right so far in this election, post-Brexit, whatever situation. And what was incredible about that whole vote was that it was pretty much a landslide, over 60% on the no side. So that was not what was anticipated. So let's take a look at the markets. Let's actually look at what happened in Asia. Taking a look at the Japanese NASDAQ, Nikkei, excuse me. Welcome Monday morning. It shed about 0.8%, hitting a 2-week low. You continue to see that the negative sentiment was weighing in on the overnight session, not only in Japan, but across Asia. That stymied the trade going into the close. Also, what was a negative was the Japanese consumer confidence level dropped for November to a level of 40.9. That was after having a decent consumer confidence level of 42.3 in October. So that didn't help the bulls case going into the early session and then into the close for the Japanese Nikkei. Basically, we're going to have to wait and see what this fallout of the no vote is. The Prime Minister from Italy, Renzi, did step down as he said he would. There's going to be some uncertainty on what's going to happen now as far as leadership. The banks here in Japan were taking it a little bit on the chin. Mitsubishi Financial, being the most notable one in the group, was down more than 2% today. EWJ is the ETF that we watch for Japanese stocks. Went out at 49.62. The weekly options are pricing the potential for this ETF to move either up or down this week until Friday. So Monday through Friday, a range of around 83 cents, which is about 1.7%. Vol is relatively inexpensive, so you shouldn't expect any huge violent moves at this point, but we'll keep an eye on that, especially as we see how the fallout of this Italian referendum, as well as the confidence levels and other data that's coming out specifically for Japan, but also for the region as well. Now, taking a look at the Hong Kong's Hang Seng, it slipped about 0.3% on the overnight action. Financials and energy names were the ones that struggled the most. China Life, Bank of China were the two most notable losers in the session. You also saw that big state-owned Chinese oil producer and distributor CNOOC, it was the worst performing name, and it fell about 1.9%. So let's see if energy starts to take it on the chin. EWH is the ETF we want to take a look at for the Hang Seng stocks. Straight here in the States, went out at 2074. The monthly options are pricing in the potential for this underlying to move about 2.7% going into the third week of December, this current trading month. And vol is still relatively inexpensive for this Hong Kong ETF. Now, taking a look at the Chinese Shanghai Composite, closed down about 1.2%. There's still a lot of dust that needs to settle with this European situation, and plus the fact these Asian markets did not have the luxury of seeing what actually was going to be the overnight reaction in both Europe and in the U.S. post markets. They were closed by the time that happened. So they may have rebounded going in, seeing what the vote was and the reaction to the markets. So I think we're going to take all of this with a grain of salt. What was notable is the People Bank of China did a lighter than normal liquidity injection. Basically, it's diffusing any buying sentiment that might have crept into the markets post this Italian referendum. Now, FXI, that's the ETF that I follow for Chinese large cap stocks that are traded on the Shanghai Index, went out at 37.31. The weekly options are pricing in for this ETF to move either up or down about 2.5% or 96 cents. And vol is relatively inexpensive. Now, taking a look finally in India, in the Sensex, it actually managed to eke out a gain of 0.5%. And I think what the main reason why they did was is they closed a little bit later than the other Asian markets. So they had the benefit of seeing how the reaction was going to be for the other European indices post the Italian referendum vote. You saw that automotive was on the move. You saw Suzuki, Hero Motorcorp, as well as Tata Motorcorp all gaining between 0.9% and 4%. So we should see that EPI should be on the move. It went out at 1989. The weekly options are pricing in the potential for this underlying ETF to move about 2.3%, around 47 cents. And vol is escalated there, so we want to take a look at that. Now, as I had noted in the beginning, the referendum in Italy passed by about 60%. The overnight markets, though, reacted negatively initially, down about 1%, both here in the U.S. and across Europe. The bid, though, it bounced up. That took that safety bid that you saw in gold and in the treasuries. Those two safety areas started to get hit as we came online in the EU. And as a matter of fact, let's take a look at the EU now, and specifically let's start with Germany. Germany's DAX is right now up about 1.4%. It's got broad-based strength. And what's notable is that exporters like BMW, Daimler, Continental, Volkswagen are all up between 2% and 2.5%. We're also seeing Deutsche Bank up by 1.2%, but we do see that Commerzbank is lagging. It's trading down about 2%. Want to keep an eye on that there in the German index. And taking a look at EWG, the ETF that tracks these stocks and many more in the DAX, it's went out at 24.74. The weekly options are pricing in the potential for EWG to move either up or down into the end of the week by about 3%. And vol is relatively muted. So let's keep an eye on that. Let's see if the continued performance in the exporters, especially with the PMIs that are coming out, those purchasing managing indexes, when you see that these are up, folks, that's telling you that there's an anticipation of growth. And if we're seeing global PMIs and domestic PMIs here in the United States continuing to increase, that is a good indication that growth is on the forefront. So names like exporters and so forth are going to be on the move. UK's FTSE added about 0.4% so far this session, and consumer names are among the best performers right now. They're up basically up between 1.1% and 1.3%. Some of the notable ones are Carnival and Morrison Supermarkets. Taking a look at EWU, that's the ETF that you can utilize to track and potentially add some exposure to the UK markets. Went out Friday at 30.35. The monthly options are pricing in the potential for this underlying to move about 2.4% going into December expiration, which is over the next 12 days. Now, France's CAC, it's up by about 0.9% so far in this session. Materials, specifically steelmaker Mattel, leading the way with a 4% gain this morning. You're also seeing exporters as well. Renault, Peugeot, all up near 2.5%. You're also seeing that consumer names are showing gains like Louis Vuitton and Danone are all up between 0.7% and 2%. Financials are a little bit mixed. Again, we're going to see that financials might be mixed going in, especially in Europe, in light of what's going on in Italy. We have to see how this is going to fall out. Credit Agricole down 0.5%, and Société Générale is down by about 0.1%. So some small losses there, but definitely firmer than you would think after this vote. EWQ is the ETF that tracks French CAC stocks. Went out on Friday at 23.39. They're pricing in the monthly options the potential for this underlying to move about 4%, around 77 cents, either up or down. Vol is relatively inexpensive. And then finally, Italy. Now, with this Italian vote, this means that not only is there going to be a new prime minister, so there's going to be a political shift at the top. The bottom line is that the status quo is still in place. So, what does that mean? It means right now that there are going to be some losses, but we know that the ECB came in to mute some volatility in their bonds. They were buying bonds last week. Now, the MIB is the index that we watch in Italy. That's down about 1.1% right now, and financials are leading the way. Banco Popular, UniCredit, as well as BMPS are all down between 3.4% and 7.2%. We'll keep an eye on that because we want to see how this volatility is going to play out, but that's the key term, volatility. There's uncertainty there, so you're going to see volatility up in EPI and MIB and EWI, is the ticker symbol for the ETF. That's how we're going to be able to watch the Italian markets here in the United States with this ETF. It went out on Friday at 22.13. We'll see if it opens up right around the $22 level. The weekly options that are expiring this Friday are pricing in some decent move. Now, we'll see if that volatility comes out, because it did have a high implied volatility going into the event, and they've held that volatility. We'll see if that gets crushed this morning. But right now, they were pricing in the potential for this ETF to move $1.52 throughout this week, either up or down. Let's see if that consolidates and actually gets crushed after today's trade. So that's it right now for the overnight action. We're going to be back at 9:30 Eastern time. We're going to be doing the opening bell, what's hot now, and we'll be checking out all of these stocks and many more so that you can get your trading day going on the right foot. Join us here at 9:30 Eastern time on MarketStream.live. Thanks, and have a great trading day.